From a curious jogger capturing an odd image to a skeptic coming face to face with Bigfoot, the footage is out there, and everyone is talking about it. Let's dive in. Jogger sneaks a pic. A woman was on her daily jog along an old logging road. As she made her way down the road, something out of the corner of her eye caught her attention. It looked like a figure was wedged between a tree. She couldn't make out what it was, but it definitely seemed off. Curious and a bit scared, she got a little closer, and then she saw it. A dark figure attempting to blend in between the trees. It was doing a decent job of camouflaging itself, especially considering it was foggy, but it still stood out enough like a broad-shouldered furry blob. Terrified and unsure of what to do, of which the wise thing to do was probably run. But no, she took out her phone and snapped a picture of what she was looking at. The figure was dark in color, and with a face that seemed somewhat human-like, appeared to be watching her. At first, she wasn't sure if she was looking at the back of its head or the front, but the front of its face looked slightly lighter compared to the top, and the rest of its body had a more grayish tint. Of course, the photo wasn't the best quality, considering the mist and that the creature was intentionally avoiding her gaze, but it was definitely something interesting. And if it was what she thought it could be, this was a pretty terrifying moment. Yet she was not the only one to spot Bigfoot lurking in the woods and even take a pic of the elusive creature. A giant humanoid creature running across the mountain. A group of researchers received unusual footage from a man named John. The video, filmed on a mountain peak along the Wasatch Front, showed a location tied to several Bigfoot sightings.
Oh wow, look at this.
This is right below where I saw it.
In pursuit of whatever they spotted on top of the ridgeline, Russell and Maria have completed the dangerous climb to the top of the glacier.
John claimed he captured something strange that really piqued the team's curiosity and sent them to investigate the mysterious area. John and his friends claimed they had caught undeniable evidence of Bigfoot. At the time, they were in a valley at about 4,200 feet in elevation. They zoomed in on a peak that was about 9,000 feet. Using a spotting telescope, they filmed the creature moving horizontally, then climbing straight up a steep, snowy mountainside. They had to hold the camera lens to the viewfinder, doing their best to capture it all. It was almost a mile higher than the guys filming it, around 5,200 feet higher. They had to zoom in over 3 miles at least to capture this creature that was easily and quickly running across around 90 inches of snow.
There's something wandering across the face of that.
The sight of the creature sprinting effortlessly through the thick snow instantly grabbed their attention. As they focused more, the group felt amazed and thrilled. It was hard to believe anything or anyone could move so fast in such deep snow unless it was incredibly strong and tall in height. When researchers received the footage, they were eager to analyze it. They wanted to determine if it was authentic, especially with so many hoaxes out there. To uncover the truth, they zoomed in on the footage, hoping to get a better look and figure out exactly what they were dealing with, but nothing could prepare them for what they were about to see. They saw a bipedal creature running across the mountain. The creature took a small break and ran off fast across the snow. The researchers couldn't believe what they were seeing. The snow in those mountains was about 90 inches deep, a fact they were well aware of. They explained that for a creature to move so fast through thick snow, it had to be incredibly tall, with feet sinking deep into the snow, and unbelievably strong to move without struggling. It wasn't just running, but doing so uphill. The power and speed it showed across that snow left them completely stunned. What could it possibly be? To try and demonstrate how difficult it would be to run across the thick snow, they went hiking in the foothills east of Francis Peak at Hardscrabble Creek in 18 inches of snow. Sky, a 6-foot-tall strong guy, struggled to barely walk perfectly in the 18-inch snow, let alone run.
This guy is 6 feet tall. This is how a large man looks hiking in 18 inches of snow.
If the creature they saw in the footage was actually real, then it had to be way taller than Sky and had to be way stronger for it to run in the 5 times thicker snow of the mountain. The researchers were amazed by what they saw and the results they had gotten by letting one of them walk in the snow. After the incident, people started asking if anyone had searched for tracks. If the creature was really running in the snow, it had to leave some tracks, right? Some suggested using a drone to explore where the supposed Bigfoot was seen running up a steep mountainside. A helicopter pilot, curious after watching the video, decided to fly over the mountain to look for signs. What he found shocked him. The tracks were there. Although the strong winds at the mountain's top were slowly erasing them, making the evidence fade away, the evidence was there. The researchers made it clear that John wasn't claiming the creature caught on camera was Bigfoot. It had been seen running uphill on a steep, icy mountainside with deep, windswept snow. On top of that, John also didn't say that the giant footprints in the large trackway belonged to Bigfoot. Still, the evidence was hard to dismiss. The steep terrain and unusual tracks left a lingering question of what it was that had been captured on camera. In their expertise, the researchers knew that this trackway was consistent with most realistic Bigfoot trackways. Based on what the researchers knew from other footage, the brisk pace of trackways made by Bigfoot usually had long strides. Additionally, the footprints were directly in front of each other, as if the creature was walking a tightrope. Perhaps one or both of these pieces of video was a clear indication of the existence of the creature, and the evidence keeps on piling up. While most of it gets captured by Bigfoot believers, some skeptics have had their own encounters that made them change their perspectives altogether. Take this interesting case, for example. Skeptic turned believer. Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization, RMSO, received another evidence report from Virginia. This time, the events of this amazing Bigfoot sighting and encounter happened on the southwest side of Virginia, near the Kentucky border. Unlike many other cases, this one came with real evidence. Harley, the witness, managed to record strange vocalizations that echoed through the nights. Even more shocking, he caught the creature on camera one Monday as it watched him from a distance. Harley later found odd tracks about 50 yards from the sawmill where he worked. 2 days after that, he spotted a Bigfoot-like figure watching him from the cliffs behind the sawmill. But how did he find himself here? Harley Owens shared his encounter in a report to RMSO. He explained that he had photos of footprints and audio recordings of what he believed to be Bigfoot. Harley mentioned he was from Tennessee, but the experience happened in Virginia. He wasn't sure if the group covered that area, but hoped to share his story. Harley's goal was to encourage others to come forward with their encounters, just as he had decided to do. Harley went on to admit that he had initially been skeptical about the existence of Bigfoot, but after he had his first-hand encounter with the creature, nobody would convince him that what he saw that day was nothing but a bear. According to the report, Harley was working up there for almost 2 weeks, and it happened on September 23, 2020, around 1:45 p.m. Additionally, the entire encounter lasted over 5 minutes, but to Harley, who was a skeptic by then, it felt like it lasted forever. One day, Harley took a break from the sawmill and walked to his service truck to grab a Coca-Cola from the cooler. It had been a busy morning, and he needed to cool off. That week, Harley was working alone. The week before, though, he'd had 2 other guys helping him. As he opened his drink, he suddenly heard a low, growling sound. The noise came from the woodline, just a short distance from where he was standing. Harley looked toward the woods, scanning the area, but he couldn't see anything. The strange sound left him uneasy. It was not long before he heard it again, and up on the cliff, peeking out of the brush from behind a tree, there it was.
I heard it again, and up on the cliff, peeking out of the brush from behind a tree, there it was. When I would look, it would hide. Luckily, I got a picture. I don't know how to explain it, but the phone I had then just died.
The creature kept avoiding him. Every time Harley tried to look, it would disguise itself in the woods. He managed to snap a picture, but something strange happened. His phone suddenly died. To this day, that phone still doesn't work properly. At first, Harley thought it was a bear because of its color, but the way it moved and behaved was nothing like a bear. This detail stood out to him and left him questioning what he had really seen. Harley shared his experience, recalling how he grew up in Tennessee, where bears were common. He mentioned seeing about a dozen black bears at the local dumps near his home, but what he saw that day was different. He described a creature peeking through the trees, appearing curious and intelligent. It didn't act like any wildlife he'd encountered before. Harley was certain that this was nothing like the bears he had known growing up, but the signs of the presence of the creature did not stop there. About an hour after dark, Harley heard strange vocalization that evening. It was probably around 9:30 p.m. As the strange voices and sounds went on consistently, Harley decided to record them. Harley, the creature he saw was about 100 yards away, and it gave off the smell of rotting eggs. This was very strange for Harley since he knew that bears did not give off such a characteristic scent. In the report, Harley admitted to remembering the smell and everything that day and claimed that it had haunted him to the day he was making the report. It was as if all Harley needed was closure, to be told by someone else that what he saw was real, and it was exactly what he thought it was. For this reason, Harley went on ahead to tell RMSO that he had dedicated his life to try and put effort into the Bigfoot phenomenon and hoped to help others open their minds to share their own encounters. He then sent them a recording of the strange vocalizations, which he had captured that night by placing his phone on a sturdy part of his truck. In his mind, he hoped that the research group would help him make sense of the voices he was hearing. After closely examining the multiple evidence sent to them by Harley, the RMSO responded to him. In the vocalizations recording, the RMSO crew said that they could hear creaking or machinery during parts of the audio, which made them question Harley and what was causing it. Harley explained what happened when he heard the strange vocalizations. He was sitting in his truck, logging everything people had bought and picked up from the week's auction. He also wanted to ensure no one came around after dark before heading to his hotel. He said it wasn't anything unusual for him to be alone in the sawmill late at night. It was just the wind blowing against the side of the old sawmill building. Yet that's not all. Following his encounter with the creature and the strange voices at night, Harley went out to dinner at the local food point and talked to some old-timers he found there. He mentioned what he had been experiencing and told them what was going on. At first, they were quiet for a minute since they noticed that he was not a local and they did not like speaking to strangers. But then, they referred to them as devil monkeys. In the report, Harley recalls that the owner of the sawmill told him a week prior that the woods had bears, snakes, and coyotes. But there were far worse things than that in these mountains. Hearing the locals tell him about the devil monkeys, Harley was shocked and told them that it sounded sinister and dark in nature. But Harley was so curious, he did not let the name make him end his chase. As if to test the credibility of his story, RMSO asked Harley if anyone else at that work site or location had had any experiences or sightings that he knew of. In response, Harley said that he knew of nobody else besides him who had had such an encounter. He, however, added that this encounter was permanently recorded in his head, and to Harley, that's something he wasn't used to hearing. He then went ahead to give the RMSO a 3D map of the location.
This is the location where it happened. This happened 3 years ago, September 23, 2020, around 1:45 in the afternoon. The entire encounter lasted over 5 minutes, and let me tell you, it felt like it lasted forever.
As if to get a clear picture of what Harley had seen, the RMSO, knowing that Harley had gone to get his drink and it was daytime, asked him if he was ever able to estimate the height and width of the creature. In response, Harley continued, "Yes, it was outside of the sawmill. We sold logging equipment, loaders, saws, all the things inside the mill and lumber. I'm 6'6", and it was easily bigger than me. I'm about 160 pounds, and it could have snapped me like quickly. I stayed to take stuff out for people to get it loaded on their trailers. That gate was the only way in and out of the place that I'm aware of. I lock up the gate after the auction days and unlock it at sunrise the next day." Looking at the photo of the creature that Harley sent them, the RMSO noticed the elevated walkway from the top of the sawmill. Harley explained to them that from the crane in the 3D map, one could see it to the left of the circle arm. But the questions did not stop there. When asked how far the tracks were from the sawmill that he photographed and filmed, what he thought when he found the tracks 2 days before seeing the creature and hearing the vocalizations, and what he thought made them, Harley said, "The tracks were about 50 to 100 yards from the sawmill. You can see towards the end of the video where the sawmill is. My initial thought was that it was odd. Who would be walking around barefoot? Then I put my foot beside the track, and it dwarfed mine. I wear a size 12, and I was just wondering about that. I had always heard the stories about Bigfoot and the tracks, and that opened my mind to the reality of them being real. Having that first-hand encounter has made me a firm believer."
What did you think made them? Harley continues, "The tracks were about 50 to 100 yards from the sawmill. You can see towards the end of the video where the sawmill is. My initial thought was that's odd. Who would be walking around barefoot?"
Harley explained how eerie the encounter was, admitting he never would have noticed it if not for the growl. The sound caught his attention, and when he looked, he saw it moving through the brush. He described hearing it growl once, spotting the creature, and then hearing it growl again. What made the moment even more chilling was how clear the movements were. Harley managed to snap a picture of the creature, which he said turned out pretty good. Reflecting on the experience, even the RMSO admitted it was creepy that Harley heard the growl and saw it moving above him. To Harley, the creature was bipedal, no doubt, and it was walking hunched over. These were the very characteristics of Bigfoot that the RMSO knew, and if it was not Bigfoot that Harley saw that day, then it was definitely a Sasquatch-like creature. Harley had managed to snap a picture of the suspected Sasquatch before it disappeared into the cover and climbed over the ridge. In the photo, Harley had used his phone zoom, estimating the creature was over 100 yards away. When the RMSO crew examined the image and run it through several filters, they hoped to bring out more features and details. The team wanted to see if they could uncover anything unusual or revealing in the photo. According to the RMSO, a lot of animals are black because it's a great color for camouflage. This is because black absorbs light and helps the animal to melt into the background, making human eyes and minds think it's just the shadows of the environment. Upon zooming in 350% and running the image through the same filters as before, the RMSO crew noticed something. There was a shimmer surrounding the Bigfoot-shaped creature in the image, which may have been caused by light shining through the creature's outer layer of fur. When they took a look at the right side of the head region, they saw what appeared to be the profile of the front of its face and nose.
I will now zoom in 350% and run this image through the same filters. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a shimmer surrounding the Bigfoot-shaped creature in the image that may be light shimmering through its outer layer of hair.
To the RMSO, this was an amazing photo captured several hours before some eerie, unexplained Sasquatch-like vocalizations were heard just after dark. While Harley's case was a close one, the Expedition Bigfoot crew had a mind-blowing experience. Expedition Bigfoot Crew's encounter. In one of their expeditions, Russell was doing surveillance of the area the crew had chosen to investigate. From afar, he noticed an animal-looking creature with black fur through the lens of his camera. At first, he thought it was a bear, which was a common animal in the area. But then something he did not expect happened. This animal decided to stand up on two of its feet and disappear into the woods. Seeing this, Russell was shaken and decided to show his partner. "Zach, that thing just stood up like you and I would. Look at that shit," Russell told his partner.
Zach, that thing just stood up like you and I would just stand up. Look at that. Dude!
Russell couldn't believe his eyes, even after replaying the clip. He thought it was just a bear because of the fur, but then it stood up like a human, turned around, and walked away. It seemed like the creature had been squatting, maybe spying on prey, or even Russell and his crew. Although bears could stand on 2 feet, they weren't as steady as the creatures he'd seen. Russell was thrilled by this and tried to get another look, zooming in around the area, hoping the creature would show up on the other side of the trees. But there was nothing to see. The creature had vanished.
Holy crap.
You got asthma?
Hang on. I can't see it. I'm trying to see if it comes out on the other side of those trees. And there's nothing.
Overjoyed by this new find, Russell decided to go to the area where he had spotted the creature and investigate more. Perhaps find some other clues. After a while, Russell could not wait to show the crew the video he had just captured, and so he called everyone back to base camp.
Russ for Ronnie. Russ for Maria.
Hey, Russ, go ahead.
Hey, Russ. Go for Maria.
I've got some amazing video that I need to share with you. Can you be at camp? I need to meet up with everybody.
They all gathered at base camp, where Russell had some exciting news to share. Everyone was eager to see what he'd discovered, so he made him call them back so they could get everything ready. Once Russell played the video, they could almost not believe their eyes. Russell explained that he had been watching the area through a telescope for a while. He said the clearings were over a mile away, and at first, he thought he saw a bear on the hillside. It looks like a bear, he had thought. But then, something changed. He told them to watch closely, saying it wasn't just a bear after all.
I'd been kind of glassing this area with a telescope for a while. It's a long ways out, and I'm watching these clearings.
Yeah.
Understand something, this is over a mile away.
Okay.
Holy crap.
And I see what looks like a bear on the hillside. So check this out.
Seeing the footage, Maria was shocked. They had come so close to uncovering the truth. To give them a better look, Russell slowed down the speed of the video, and there it was. Bryce and Maria, having a bit more knowledge about Bigfoot than the rest of the crew, could not believe this. To them, that was definitely something other than a bear. To Maria and Bryce, there was only one other possibility of a creature that could have that kind of behavior, be hairy, and move like a human on 2 feet: Bigfoot.